I don't know whether it would be good for me to go back and try to do more or
Right.
not. I'm afraid that if I tried to go back and do more, I'd be reminded of all the reasons why I stopped.
What's going on, guys? This is Brian Jones from popculture.com, and joining me today is a very special guest. He is one of NASCAR's all-time great drivers, a two-time winner of the Daytona 500, won over 20 NASCAR Cup Series races and over 20 Xfinity Series races, and it will be officially inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame next year. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale, how are you doing today?
Doing really good. Things are great. We just came out of a awesome race weekend at Nashville Super Speedway. So pretty exciting weekend, and here to talk to you, I hope, about Lost Speedways.
Absolutely. And Lost Speedways, for those who don't know, Lost Speedways is a docu-series streaming only on Peacock that takes a look at abandoned racetracks all across the country and across the world. And, I got a chance to watch season 1. I was really interesting stuff. It's really informative. And season 2 is coming up. So I wanted to ask you this. When it comes to the second season, what can fans expect compared to what they didn't see from last season?
Well, obviously we go to different tracks, but if I can be honest, like the quality of production, and we really kind of got our feet wet and were learning as we went last year.
Right.
Plus things were a little challenging with COVID and all that. But anyhow, it was it was a new crew, a lot of I was doing a new show. I had this idea, and I was a little bit nervous about whether it would transition to TV really well. It sounds like a great idea to me, but does anybody else care about this? Will this be interesting to anyone else? And is it TV worthy? Or so we had some good success, and we got some good feedback from our first season, and you go into the next season sort of with the same anxieties about whether people are going to embrace this, whether you can find stories at other racetracks that are just as good or better than the first season. And I really, after watching all of our work from season 2, I'm confident as I can be that it outdoes the first season. It's better. It's a better quality show all the way around. We learn from our mistakes as a group. I think we do a better job of telling these stories and sort of bringing you the information about the particular track and who, what the storyline is for whatever reason. And I think it'd just be a more fun watch. It'll be a more entertaining experience for somebody who's seeing it for the first time. So I'm pumped up about it. The thing is like, we have this giant map of all these racetracks all across the country. And I know that we have more than enough to do as many seasons as NBC would want to do. But what the viewer doesn't understand, I guess, is that there's that many tracks out there, and there's that many stories. And so they thought, wow, season 1, that was great. A lot of recognizable tracks. Some stories I never heard before. Do you guys have more? There's really more tracks with these same type of, interesting storylines. And there are so many out there. And I think we did a great job choosing some unique ones for this season. And we have more to come. If we get an opportunity to do season 3, we have even more racetracks to go look at. So the best part about it is, we pick these tracks, and I get to go out there and put boots on the ground and see them sometimes for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that season 2 will be just as successful as season 1. And if that's the case, then we'll probably see more seasons of Lost Speedways, because again, it's very interesting stuff. Even for the average race fan or those who don't follow racing in general, I think that's going to be really good for those people to see what goes into the history of these racetracks and the drivers that made these racetracks so special. So one of the other things I want to ask you about Lost Speedways is, if there is one abandoned track that you'd like to see revived, which one would that be?
Wow, that's a great question. Man, Texas World Speedway is one track that, so a lot of the Lost Speedways we go to are they're small venues, and a lot of them may never even had big time cup races. They were just a local track with a really crazy story. And I think it's fun too to point out to you or myself or anyone else that, hey, oh man, there's one right here next door. There's one 10 minutes down the road I didn't even know was there in the woods, right? And so now your curiosity's piqued because you have a personal relation with that geographical area, right? So that's kind of fun to do, but there's only one 2-mile ghost track in the country. There's one, and it's Texas World Speedway.
Okay.
And it's without giving too much away, it's almost half completely gone. Like when you stand there and look at it, you've got entirely half of a ghost track, the just giant banking off in the distance. It's huge as far as you can see. And then the other half of it is a completely clean slate. You'd never even know it was there. And so the contrast of that visually is insane. But I'd always, watching videos on YouTube of old races at that particular track in College Station, Texas, is just makes you curious as to what it was like to go around there. One of our, most recently, about 15 years ago, one of our cup cars tested there and ran 214 miles an hour. I mean, that's faster than pretty much anywhere else we go. So I just wonder what could have been had Texas World Speedway survived.
Absolutely. I think we're all looking forward to seeing all about Texas Speedway. When it comes to, you mentioned the feedback from the fans being positive, and you're not being sure about how would fans react to a series like Lost Speedway. So what type of fan reaction did you get? Were they surprised by the fact that you did a show like this? Because again, it's something that's never really been done on television. So what's been the feedback like?
Well, I think I've been happy with it. You always want things. I think I'm never really satisfied. Always want to get bigger and better and want the numbers to be bigger and the viewership to increase. But I mean, it was good enough and successful enough of a show that we got picked up for a second season. And the idea of, if you have something that you either have interest in, you either collect or whatever, and you feel like that maybe there's not a lot of other people that that are into this, right? Whatever it may be. You're a little shy about communicating that to people because they might look at you and go, yeah, I'm no interest in that, or I don't know what you're talking about. And I only knew a few people that were really into these abandoned racetracks. But so the thing that I hoped is that it would reach other people that were into abandoned anything. And if you kind of roam around the internet a little bit, that there's sort of these little groups that are into, whether it be abandoned amusement parks, plane accidents, shipwrecks, sunken ship, whatever it may be, right? Trying to find that abandoned, lost thing, and the romantic stories behind how that happened and how things ended up the way they did. I think that it touches those type of people. So even like you say, if you don't care anything about racing or racetracks, it's just the story of how it became what it is today and how it was lost, and the fact that it's still kind of sitting there is, we go to these tracks and you get a bit of an eerie feeling, kind of this sort of ghostly, haunted feeling. Sometimes it's a romantic feeling. It just depends on really what the story and the history of the place is. But I think that's how the show will be successful if it can reach outside of that race fan demographic. The show can do some cool things, and so far so good. We'll just I think we were very conservative in season 1 with doing tracks that we thought people would recognize. Man, when we get into the weeds, some of these places, their stories are insane and really unique, and they're going to be places you've never heard of or never knew even existed. And the visuals of what the tracks look like today are going to be pretty astonishing. That's always a great thing about doing this, is you're going to have some pretty crazy optics that are going to help tell the story. So I feel good about going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's going to be interesting is, as you mentioned, you following these racetracks that not too many people have heard about. In season 1, me being from Georgia, the fact that you were able to go to Middle Georgia Raceway and Augusta International Raceway, I know diehard fans would know about those raceways in general, but just learning about the history of those two raceways is just really interesting. So
yeah,
absolutely. But the last question I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, when you're doing the show and studying these raceways and looking at all these racetracks, does it make you miss racing full time? I know you still do it kind of on a part-time level, but do you miss racing full time after doing the show?
I don't know if the show really has much of an effect on that. I think
Right.
that I certainly miss it now. And I don't know. I don't know whether it would be good for me to go back and try to do more or
Right.
not. I'm afraid that if I tried to go back and do more, I'd be reminded of all the reasons why I stopped. And so I always use this analogy, and maybe it's a good one, maybe it isn't, but say you're in a relationship with another person, and the relationship ends for whatever reason, and there were things about that relationship you didn't like. And then you go 6 months or a year down the road or whatever, and you go, man, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I need to give that another shot. And you go and you give it another shot. And within days or a week, you're like, oh no, I remember why I'm not in this relationship, know? And so I think I kind of use that analogy because I believe that would be how it would go if I were to try to get back into it a little further and get back behind the wheel. As I'd go, yeah, I think I made the right choice, not getting out the first time. But with that said, that little bit of me missing it, I use that in the booth when I'm working the broadcast. I use it for energy, and I'm a fan up there. I really love what I'm seeing. I want to be in the race car with those guys. I want to be in that battle that I'm watching or talking about. So I use that a little bit, I think, to as a positive, to help me do a good job as a broadcaster.
Absolutely. And you've obviously done a lot in your career on and off the track. We're looking forward to season 2 of Lost Speedways. Dale, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Brian, I appreciate talking to you. And Lost Speedways coming out this July 1st.
July 1st.
We're pumped up about it. Yeah, we're pumped up about it. Go to Peacock TV and check us out. I think you'll enjoy what you see.
All right, you heard him. Be sure to check out Lost Speedways, streaming only on Peacock July 1st. And for more on Lost Speedways, Dale Earnhardt Jr., your favorite sports stars and celebrities, be sure to keep it locked on popculture.com.